houses, SRC has said the move has been informed by budget cuts leading to fiscal constraints following the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. Further, the Commission has said no extra funding will be provided to implement the job evaluation result in the 2024-2025 financial year. However, the annual salary notch adjustments in the existing salary structure will continue to be applied within the budget allocations. Additionally, the Lynn Mengich-led commission has advised public service institutions with collective bargaining agreements impacted by the deferred salary review to engage with their respective trade unions accordingly. Among those affected includes Teachers Service Commission collective bargaining agreement with union representatives that was signed last year August to amend the 2021-2025 CBA to include a salary increment of up to 9.5% spread over 2 years. Also, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Union CBAs with the Council of Governors representing all the 47 counties has been affected at a CBA between KMPDU and the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital Eldoret that was signed on 20th of September 2022 for the second cycle of collective bargaining agreements, which covers the period between 2022 to 2025. Last but not the least, the CBA between the employees of the National Social Security Fund and the Kenya Union of Commercial Food and Allied Workers, which was signed in 2023 for the 2023-2025 financial year, which was set to see all employees who are in the service awarded a wage increment of 8% on their basic salary to the 2 years. On the 3rd of July, SRC froze the upward salary review for state officers, including the President, his deputy, cabinet secretaries and members of parliament, following a public outcry against government excesses and wastage of public resources. Bentura Kwamboka, K24, Nairobi.
Now, a split has emerged in Azimio after ODM agreed to join President William Ruto in the formation of a government of national unity. Now, despite opposition from constituent parties of Azimio, ODM appears to agree to a new political marriage as sources point that Azimio coalition has collapsed and the only thing left is to notify Kenyans. Martin Opio reports.
Wednesday's event at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation not only left journalists scampering for safety and nursing injuries after goons disrupted Kalonzo Musyoka's presser, but could also be the end of the coalition party, as was known.
If we can have some peace outside.
Azimio leader co-principals were forced to scamper for safety when goons invaded the presser moments after the Azimio joint parliamentary group meeting. According to sources, even though it was agreed that Azimio stays out of President Ruto's charm offensive government of national unity idea, Odinga is said to have been skeptical about releasing the statement as it would paint the picture of a double standard. What would follow was witnessed across the country. The statement, which was to reject ODM's move to join the government, did not see the light of the day at Jof. Earlier in the day, ODM had held a meeting of members of parliament drawn from the party before inviting their counterparts from Azimio. In the ODM meeting, every member was requested to give their views on the intended plans to join the government, and all were in agreement that the time is nigh for the party to join William Ruto in the government of national unity. One of the vocal governors who until Sunday was in opposition of the dialogue toned down and instead questioned Odinga that whereas he has given a go-ahead, he should be extra vigilant. In the joint Azimio PG, the ODM decision was opposed as sources indicated that events of Wednesday are spelling doom for the coalition and could be the end of the merger formed in 2022 at the tail end of the election. All co-principals except Odinga differed with ODM. While speaking to K24 TV, Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni maintained that Ruto must sanitize himself without the help of Azimio.
The position of Azimio is that we are not entering into any dialogue with UDA. We are not joining the government of William Ruto. We start by the demands that have been put forward by Gen Z, and we have demands that we made that needs to be addressed very, very quickly. We in Jubilee hold the view that if those demands are not met, then what is left for us is just to join Gen Z in the demonstrations.
Sources have indicated that Odinga is ready to join government alone in the event that his colleagues do not have the attention. Kalonzo and others might end up being the only opposition to the government. Thursday afternoon, Kalonzo na Kenya Party leader Martha Karua, DAPK's Eugene Wamalwa, former Agricultural Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, and Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni were holed up in a meeting on what was termed as fostering a political future without Odinga in the picture, in light of President William Ruto's overtures. Senate's afternoon session saw Kisumu Senator and ODM renegade Tom Ojenda allude to the possibility of Odinga joining the government while quoting Migori Senator Eddie Okech.
I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the leader of my party, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has seen the need, Mr. Speaker, sir, to work with government with a view, Mr. Speaker, sir, to stabilizing this government. Because this government, Mr. Speaker, sir, serves every citizen of this country. And when my good friend, the Senator from Migori, Eddie Mwok, spoke to me 3 days ago on the possibility of my party, the ODM, moving in the direction of government, I told him that that is the right thing to do.
More information points to Odinga's allies clinching cabinet slots upon the impending reconstitution of cabinet slated tentatively for next week. Odinga made his way out of the country last evening, but emerging questions is whether the Azimio chief has differed with Ruto's predecessor politically. Martin Opio, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto could be taking the advantage of reconstituting a new cabinet as an opportunity to reorganize his political game plan in his 2027 re-election bid. In the wake of new political dynamics brought about by the recent protests, this revelation comes even as some leaders dismisses a meeting held between the president and a section of leaders from Mount Kenya this week, in which the president opened up on his plan to form a coalition government. Kimani Ngujeri reports.
The height of developing political dynamics in the country, President William Ruto has seemingly been thrown between a rock and a hard place as he navigates the murky political season. And in what could be an indicator that the president is cautious of repercussions that may come with any of his political decisions, the president this week met at least 60 leaders from Mount Kenya, and the agenda of the meeting was to convince the leaders that he was preparing to form a government involving the opposition.
And I think the best person who could have been consulted is that particular person who is the deputy president.
But political observers say that in forming a new cabinet, Ruto may have found an opportunity to reorganize his political game plan, targeting to be re-elected in 2027, but amidst changing political dynamics, influenced largely by the recent protests.
Is now trying to use this particular time and an opportunity to bring in opposition for preparation for his re-election in 2027.
I humbly request him to bring in the deputy president and let them sit together and craft even a better cabinet.
During the signing of the IEBC Act, the president gave the clearest indication that he was ready to form what he called a political broad-based government. But concerns have been raised as to whether including opposition to his government would be a game changer.
I will immediately engage in extensive consultations across different sectors and political formations with the aim of setting up a broad-based government.
Let him bring people who believed in his vision, who know what the better agenda is.
Bringing opposition into the government, it means you are killing the democracy, and what you are doing is that you are bringing the whole cycle together, and that is a compromise of what we call watchdog or public affairs.
We don't want to be seen to be sanitizing a regime that has fallen.
The question of whether the president would reappoint cabinet secretaries who were recently dismissed has formed part of the debate that may leave him in a quagmire. And even more is the question of if the president would give a heavy consideration to politicians or technocrats in his new selections. And political pundits argue that whichever move that he makes, he would have to be careful of the political repercussions.
There were those who are used to fight other people, brought disharmony in government. He must never allow them.
And therefore, bring people who can bring sanity into the cabinet.
Our president needs the solomonic wisdom so that he can deal with the things he can see and the things that he cannot see.
The political class has been thrown back to the drawing board following the protests by the youth, and the president has to weigh tough options, one of which is the position of the youth in the cabinet, considering how it is perceived that they would have a huge influence in how the outcome of the 2027 vote might be.
The best thing for the president to do is to bring inclusivity of young people in his cabinet, other than bringing old guys still to his government.
Anyone with even a whim of a scandal or a corruption, scandal hanging over their head should not be brought in.
There have been demands for the president to reduce the number of cabinet secretaries from 22 to a proposed 15. But then, experts see this as an acid test for the president as he tries to achieve regional balance in his cabinet and at the same time listening to the demands of the people.
The regions that voted overwhelmingly for him will be looking to see how he treats them this time round.
Kimani Ngunjiri, K24, Nairobi.
All right, now let's get to matters business. Stakeholders in various government departments concerned with the welfare of persons with disability are castigating fathers who disown children born with a disability. They are calling for enactment of strict laws to force such men into taking responsibility for their children who are born with disability and those born without disability. Gladys Midecha reports on this particular feature story.
Nashukuru kwa siku ya leo.
Beatrice Karimi is raising a child with disability. Like other parents with children with disabilities, she recounts the challenges she faces on a daily basis.
Mtoto huyu mara nyingine hata ukimwambia kaa, hawezi kaa. Ukimwambia tulia mahali moja hawezi tulia. So tunaomba county government ya Isiolo kupitia mkubwa yetu hapa hivi afikishia governor. Hakuna watoto wanakuanga na shinda kama watoto wa autism.
The Kenya National Housing and Population Census 2009 approximates that 3.6% of the Kenyan population have some form of disability. The prevalence of disability in Kenya could be as high as 15% of the population, which translates to over 6.6 million Kenyans, including children and youth who might have disability. The Ministry of Education says currently about 250,000 children with disabilities are enrolled in our education institution, which is a small percentage compared to the expected population of those with disabilities in the Kenyan population. This therefore presents a serious data gap in the education sector in the area of children and youth with special needs and disabilities. Stakeholders in the various government departments concerned with the welfare of persons with disabilities in Isiolo County have castigated fathers who disown children born with a disability and leave the entire burden of raising them up to their mothers, and called for enactment of strict laws to enforce such men into taking responsibility. They were speaking at the Almasi Children's Village in Isiolo during celebrations to mark the county edition of the World Autism Day. The County Director of Social Services, Abdul Rahman Tadicha, and the County Coordinator at the National Council for Persons with Disability, Gabriela Ogo, lamented that it had become a trend for men to abdicate their parental responsibilities after siring an autistic child or a child with any other disability, a situation that overburdens the mother and deprives the child of the love and care that they deserve.
Mila zetu na mila tofauti tofauti. Mwanamke akijifungua mtoto ambaye ako na autism, huwa wanaume wanatoroka nyumba kama hiyo. Wanaacha mwanamke anaumia na mtoto na kuna usaidizi anapata. Sio ni kweli? Sio ni kweli? Wengine hata wanaacha wanawake wanawapatia talaka wanatoroka.
The officers noted that even in schools, children with autism are in some cases subjected to further suffering when they are beaten up by teachers for failing to heed certain directives like sitting or standing, or due to their slow nature of grasping whatever they are taught, arguing that there was a need to raise awareness among teachers and other members of public so that they don't unnecessarily punish autistic children for alleged dissent.
Kuna watu wanapelekwa shule wanachapwa na walimu because hawaelewi. Huyu mtoto tulimwambia akae chini na akae chini. Huyu mtoto hakaelewi, ni mkorofi, ni pumbafu, anasumbuana, anaumiza ule mtoto. Kumbe at the end of the day mwalimu mwenyewe hajaelewa. Mzazi anasema mimi nilikuwa nadhani nikipeleka shule ndio nitapumzika, kumbe shule inarudisha kwangu back. Tukimfunza hata ashiki kitu. Huyu mtoto pengine is not good in class, but is in good in other activities.
They further warned parents of such children against restraining the children in unfriendly environment such as chicken or goat's shed, noting that such moves amounts to gross violation of their rights.
All right, now time for business news here on K24 Evening Edition. Let's continue. Now, CBK Governor Kamau Thuge says the global economy is expected to continue its recovery, albeit at a steady but gradual pace. Now, the positive outlook is on account of greater than expected resilience in the United States and several emerging markets and developing economies. According to the Bank's Supervision Annual Report 2023 released today by CBK, indicated that the banking sector is projected to remain resilient in 2024. However, money laundering remains a major impediment to the development of Kenya's economy. Linda Koskei reports.
Money laundering remains a significant concern for Kenya because it facilitates and conceals crime and distorts markets and the broader financial system. In a recent report released by the Central Bank of Kenya (CBK), Kenya has made strides after the implementation of the AML-CFT Amendment Bill 2023, which was passed into law effective September 1, 2023. The report also indicated that Kenya's banking sector remained stable and resilient in 2023, characterized by sufficient capital and liquidity buffers. The total capital adequacy ratio stood at 18.6% in December 2023. On the regulatory front, the Central Bank of Kenya, in recognition of the existential threat of climate change, continued its focus on climate-related risks. While the sector has made progress in governance and strategy, CBK says a shared understanding of green finance and the existence of standardized disclosure frameworks are critical for the sector's effective contribution to combating climate change. Linda Koskei, K24 TV.
Now, small and medium-sized enterprises have been urged to secure home or business fire and burglary insurance, especially with the ongoing protests happening in the country. This has seen Absa Bank Kenya partner with Old Mutual to offer a comprehensive SME insurance solution dubbed Linda Biz that will offer medical and life insurance in a holistic solution that including insurance for losses against fire, political violence, riots and strikes, floods. Now, business interruption, burglary, addressing specific risks faced by MSMEs.
In the last 5 years, we've seen that if we're not able to cover risks that SMEs face in the market, we're finding more and more SMEs collapse. There are statistics that show SMEs don't last more than 7 years in the market. as they begin their business. So what we're then saying is that, we sat down, we talked to the SMEs across the country, asking them what do they need. And they came up very clearly with things that they need. So we've come together with this product called Linda Biz.
The purpose of the product is really to build resilience around SMEs and micro enterprises.
I think it's a very well crafted product that looks at both the business needs of the SME, but also it looks at the connectivity between the individual, because in many cases in the SME business there is a very thin line between the person and the business that they run, and I think this product has taken that into account.
Right, time to take another break here. When we come back, we'll be coming back with some sporting action. Don't go too far.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why.